Discover the incredible moment when a laughing manager exposed the bank's CEO's hidden challenge. In the heart of Maplewood, the small town was wrestling with dark clouds of economic downfall. Yet among the gloom stood Charlie, the 38-year-old bank manager whose laughter lit up the coldest days like a bonfire on a winter night. Charlie was a beacon of hope for the community, a true American spirit navigating the storm. He would spend his days not just balancing budgets, but also nurturing relationships. A warm smile here, a hearty joke there, and he became a lifesaver for those like Sarah, a single mother balancing bills with a full-time job, and Tom, a veteran wrestling with demons from the battlefield. Just one laugh from Charlie could lift their burdens for a moment. But then everything changed the day Victor, the heavyweight bank CEO, strode into town with an agenda that hung heavy like the air before a storm. His reputation for slashing budgets followed him like an unwelcome shadow, and fear settled into the hearts of Maplewood's residents as they sensed the threat to their lives and homes. The townsfolk began gathering at the bank, whispering worries into the air, and they looked to Charlie, their trusted shepherd in a valley of uncertainty. "Charlie, what will happen?" Sarah's voice cracked as she shared her fears. "That man doesn't care about us," Tom echoed, bitterness simmering in his words. Charlie felt the grip of apprehension wrap around his chest. It wasn't just his job at stake, it was the community he had sworn to protect. With an unwavering heart, he decided they needed to confront Victor to show him that their lives couldn't be reduced to mere figures. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they filled the bank's conference room, Charlie felt the tension thickening. When Victor entered, it felt like all the air had been sucked out. The walls seemed to vibrate with uncertainty, but Charlie refused to back down. "We're more than numbers on a balance sheet," he said, his voice steady. "We're families, we're artists, we're fighters." In a moment of levity, Charlie cracked a joke about corporate life. "I've seen fewer laughs at a funeral." Laughter erupted from the crowd, and for a fleeting moment the heaviness lifted. Even Victor's stern face cracked a smile. That laughter built a bridge, and suddenly they weren't two opposing forces. They were connected by shared struggles, bound by the same life challenges. As the conversation turned more sincere, Charlie noticed Victor soften. A hint of vulnerability flickered beneath his corporate facade. "I have a daughter," Victor confessed, the weight of his words revealing a hidden part of him. "She paints, but no one buys her work. I understand what it's like to watch someone struggle." Charlie's heart raced. Here was a man who was also tied to the same threads of hope and despair that held together Maplewood. In that moment, Charlie realized that maybe they could find a way to spark change, not just for the town, but even for Victor's daughter. But just as the strings of connection tightened, uncertainty bubbled up again. Would Victor let go of the iron grip of corporate ambition? Could the laughter they shared pave the way to real change? As Charlie looked into the eyes of his friends, all pleading for a lifeline, he knew this was just the beginning. Could they transform their shared understanding into action? Would unity prevail against the cold, calculated world they fought so hard against? All that remained was the question echoing in the conference room. What sacrifices would they be willing to make for hope? Victor leaned back in his chair, processing the weight of Charlie's words. The laughter that had momentarily filled the room faded, leaving a charged silence in its wake. It was as if the laughter itself had left pieces of hope hanging in the air, waiting to be claimed. "Do you really think we can change anything?" Victor asked, his gaze drifting to the worn wooden table. His voice was softer now, the cracks of his tough exterior evident. Charlie stepped closer, driven by the urgency of the moment. "I do, but we need to work together. It's not just about numbers, it's about heart. People here are hurting because of decisions that are made without understanding their implications." Sarah, who had been sitting quietly, finally spoke up. "My daughter is about to turn 15. I want her to grow up in a town where she can dream, where hope isn't just a distant chant, but a reality." Her voice trembled, and Charlie could see tears brimming in her eyes. Tom nodded in agreement, his posture shifting from defiance to solidarity. "And it's not just about staying afloat, it's about thriving. We want to build a community, to support each other. We need investment in our businesses, not cuts." The room felt tighter as everyone leaned forward, anchoring themselves to the moment. Every breath was heavy with the weight of their shared reality. Victor's brow furrowed, processing the passion in their voices, feeling the tug of each personal story. "I've always believed in hard decisions," Victor murmured, almost to himself, "but I've never considered the human cost." Charlie's heart quickened as he noticed Victor's shoulders sag just a bit. He was shifting, willing to listen. "Let's create a town hall meeting," Charlie suggested. "Invite everyone, from artists to business owners to teachers. Let them share their stories. Let's connect these lives to your decisions." Victor's gaze met Charlie's, an unspoken challenge lingering between them. "And what if it's too late? What if I have to make cuts? I can't promise miracles, Charlie." Charlie took a deep breath, summoning his resolve. "We can't expect miracles, but we can ignite change. The first step is understanding. If we open this dialogue, we might inspire solutions neither of us can yet see." The flicker of hope danced in Victor's eyes, mingled with fear and uncertainty. "I'll consider it," he said quietly. The atmosphere shifted. It felt like a seed had been planted. As people started to disperse, there was a palpable energy in the air, a feeling that things could change. Charlie looked around at the faces of his friends, his heart swelling with pride for their bravery. They had faced the storm together, and yet there was still a long road ahead. But just as Charlie allowed himself to feel hopeful, a phone call interrupted. It was a local business owner, trembling through the receiver, reporting a sudden, unexpected closure of a competitor. "Charlie, this could send shockwaves through our whole neighborhood. What are we going to do?" As Charlie hung up, he felt the weight of the challenge double. Would they rally together in time to support each other? Could their newfound connection with Victor really stand strong against the winds of change threatening their town? With determination mingling with lingering trepidation, Charlie knew they needed to act fast. The future of Maplewood was precarious, and just as hope sparkled on the horizon, dark clouds loomed ominously overhead. What drastic measures would they need to take to fend off disaster? Charlie didn't waste a moment. He gathered his closest allies, Sarah, Tom, and a few others from the community, to brainstorm what they could do to counteract the shockwaves created by the sudden closure. The familiar small-town diner, with its faded red booths and the aroma of fresh coffee, became their war room. "Without that store, we might lose customers," Sarah said, her brows furrowed. "People come here for convenience. They'll go somewhere else if we're not ready." Tom nodded, leaning forward. "We need a plan. We can't just sit back and let this happen. We have our strengths. Our businesses need to support each other more than ever." They kicked around ideas, each suggestion bouncing off the walls like a pinball. Local deals, cooperative marketing, pop-up events. Their voices merged into a chorus of hope. But beneath it all, the fear of failure loomed like a heavy fog. "Victor has to back us up," Charlie said after a long pause. "If we can get him to see how this will impact everyone, maybe he'll put pressure on the city council to take some action." Sarah bit her lip. "What if he doesn't? What if it is too late?" I refuse to think that way, Charlie said, fire igniting in his chest. If we give in to that thought, then we lose everything. We'll show up for our town, every one of us. We'll make him see what's at stake. Then we need a clear message, Tom declared. We need our stories, our hearts to resonate in that town hall meeting. People need to feel what we feel, the urgency, the desperation. As the night wore on, ideas flourished and dark clouds lifted just enough to let a sliver of light through. They started mapping out plans, flyers to distribute, social media campaigns to launch, and invitations to send for the upcoming town hall to ensure every voice was heard. When the meeting date was set, Charlie felt a sense of purpose wash over him. They each took responsibility for mobilizing their networks, reaching out to everyone they knew, friends, family, customers. But as excitement filled the air, Charlie's phone buzzed with yet another alarming message. This time it was Victor, asking to meet. Charlie's heart raced. He didn't know what this meant. Was Victor reconsidering the cuts, or was this about the impending closure? When Charlie arrived at the cafe to meet Victor, apprehension tangled with hope. There was Victor, his face a mask of concern, a stark contrast to the strong-willed man Charlie had come to know. "Charlie," Victor said, his voice laced with urgency, "we need to talk about the closure and what's coming next. It's bigger than I thought. We may have only a few days to make a statement that matters." "What do you mean?" Charlie asked, instincts sharpening. Victor glanced around, ensuring no one was listening. "There's something happening behind the scenes that could change everything. If we don't act quickly, the fallout won't just stop at one business closing." Charlie leaned in closer, pulse quickening. "What do you know?" "The ripple effect is bigger than just Maplewood. There's pressure from outside investors. They plan to strip resources, to take away more than you realize," Victor whispered, urgency etched in his brow. "What are we going to do?" Charlie's voice faltered, the weight of Victor's words settling like lead in his stomach. Victor's eyes softened. "We have to rally more than ever, a united front. It starts now, or it might be too late." Charlie's chest tightened as a wave of dread washed over him. The stakes were higher than he ever anticipated. What they thought was just a local fix had become a battle for the very soul of their town. As they sat across from each other, the gravity of the situation deepened. Victory or defeat hung in the balance. Would they stand together, or would they watch everything they love slip away? The true fight for Maplewood was about to begin, and Charlie could feel the storm gathering on the horizon. What would they have to sacrifice to save their town? Charlie walked out of the cafe, the weight of Victor's words still heavy on his shoulders. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting long shadows that seemed to engulf the small town in a unsettling gloom. He glanced back at the cafe, heart pounding, determination flaring. There was no time to waste. Each second felt crucial. With a swift motion, he pulled out his phone and dialed Sarah. "We need to hurry. Victor just told me we're racing against more than just the closure. There are bigger players, and they want to take apart everything we care about." Sarah's surprised voice came through, crackling with urgency. "What do you mean? Is it serious?" "It's worse than we thought. I'm heading to the diner right now. Grab Tom and the others. We need to expand our message, make it loud and clear." He ended the call and made his way back to the diner. Determination surged through him. They wouldn't just be fighting for one store. They would rally to protect Maplewood itself. Inside, the familiar smells of coffee and sizzling bacon filled the air, but the atmosphere felt charged. People were gathering, their faces reflecting shared concern. Charlie stood at the end of the booth, taking a long breath, feeling the collective weight of the room settle on his shoulders. "Listen up, everyone," he called, his voice slicing through the murmur. The chatter faded, and all eyes turned to him. "We need to act now," Tom piped in. "How serious is this?" Can we really make a change? I believe we can, but Victor warned me, it's not just about us anymore. We have to reach out to everyone in town. Our fight isn't just for local businesses. It's for our community, our schools, our families. If we don't stand together, we'll lose far more than we think, Charlie said. Tension rippled through the room. Charlie could see doubt dancing in the eyes of some. What we do now can spark a movement. We'll share our stories, focus on the heart of this town, what makes Maplewood special. Remember the times we've rallied together before, block parties, fundraisers. We'll make something big happen. There was a stirring among them. People began to nod, murmuring words of agreement. Sarah stepped forward, her spirit brightening the gloom. What if we create a massive community event? A weekend festival showcasing everything we have, our shops, our talents. Give people a reason to come together. Yes, someone else exclaimed from the back of the diner, fanning the flames of enthusiasm. Art, food, music, celebrate what we love about our town. Excitement buzzed like electricity in the air, and Charlie felt hope blossom. They started brainstorming ideas, tossing around names for the event, planning every detail, ranging from local musicians to potluck contributions from each business. But just as hope surged, the diner door swung open. A stranger stepped in, office wear crisp against the small-town decor. Charlie's heart dropped. The man had the look of someone with authority, the air of one who might know too much. As he scanned the room, Charlie held his breath. His instincts screamed. He sensed that this outsider had come with intentions that could threaten everything they were fighting for. "Excuse me," the stranger said, his voice cutting through the growing chatter. "I need to speak with whoever is organizing the event." Charlie stepped forward, heart racing. Was this man a threat or an ally? The entire room seemed to hold its breath as they turned towards him, waiting for Charlie to respond. Would this outsider unravel everything they had just begun to build? Or could he possibly be the key to strengthening their cause? Charlie stepped forward, his mind racing. This was the moment everything could pivot. Hope could either blossom or shatter. "That would be me," he said, trying to sound steady despite the drumbeat of anxiety in his chest. The stranger's icy blue eyes locked onto his, assessing, appraising. "I'm Carter Reynolds," he introduced himself, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. "I'm here representing the Hartley Group. We've been observing your plans for this community event." The murmurs of the diner continued, but Charlie felt a sharp focus forming around him. "Observing," Charlie echoed, his voice laced with skepticism. "What exactly do you want?" Carter's gaze shifted around the room, gaining strength from the crowd. "I want to help," he replied, folding his arms. "In fact, I'm here to offer sponsorship for your festival." A wave of stunned silence swept through the diner. Charlie exchanged glances with Sarah and Tom, their expressions mirroring his disbelief. Was this a twist of fate or a new layer of complication? "Why would you want to sponsor us?" Sarah finally asked, stepping closer. "You don't know us." Carter shrugged casually, though a smirk tugged at his lips. "True, but I know potential when I see it. You have a chance to change the dialogue in this town, and we want to be part of that. Our firm stands to gain if communities like Maplewood thrive." Discomfort rippled through Charlie. Was this simply a ploy to get a foot in the door? "And what's in it for you?" he asked, pushing back. "Economic incentive," he replied easily. "If Maplewood gets back on its feet, it's good for investment. But it's more than that. The image we project changes when towns like this grow stronger. I believe in revitalizing community spirit." The tension in the room hung thick. A mix of curiosity and skepticism filled the air, and Charlie felt the weight of their collective gaze on him. Was he willing to take the risk? "I need time to think about this," Charlie said, feeling the urgency to maintain control over their plans. "You just waltz in here and you want us to trust you?" "Fair enough," Carter acknowledged. "But consider this. We could help you get the word out.
draw in more vendors, even help with permits. Excitement sparked in the crowd, but Charlie sensed the danger lurking underneath. "What do you want in exchange?" Carter smirked as he took a step closer, lowering his voice. "Let's just say, I'd like a seat at the table. I want to be involved." Before Charlie could respond, someone shouted from the back, "What's he really after? You can't trust city folks like him." "Yeah, they just want to take our ideas and run," another voice chimed in. Charlie's heart raced as conflicting emotions crashed through him: fear, hope, and uncertainty. Should they shove the man out the door, or could he genuinely be a connector for their cause? "He might just have the right resources," Sarah whispered, glancing at Charlie, urging him to consider. Just as he was about to speak again, the door swung open violently, letting in a frigid gust of wind. A familiar figure appeared, breathless and panicked. It was Victor, his eyes wide with an urgency that sent shivers down Charlie's spine. "I just heard something you need to know." The diner fell silent as all eyes turned to Victor. What news did he bring that could change the course of their fight? Uncertainty hung defiantly in the air, thickening with each passing moment. Charlie's heart raced as he braced for the revelation to come. What truth was about to shatter the fragile alliance? Victor scanned the room, his expression a messy blend of fear and excitement. "They're planning to tear down the old mill tomorrow." His proclamation sent ripples through the diner. The chatter ceased, replaced by gasps and quick whispers of shock. "What?" Charlie's voice came out strained. "Why didn't anyone mention this before?" Victor took a steadying breath, darting his gaze around the worried faces. "I just found out an hour ago. Apparently the Hartley Group has already filed for the permits. It's all moving faster than we thought." Charlie staggered back, the weight of Victor's words crushing down on him. He glanced at Carter, who wore a look of cool confidence, a stark contrast to the chaos blooming around him. Was this all part of the deal? To help them or destabilize them? "What do you have to say about that?" Charlie demanded, pointing a shaky finger at Carter. Carter's smile faded slightly, replaced by an air of contemplation. "I didn't know they were moving that quickly," he admitted slowly, lifting his hands defensively. "But I assure you, I want to help stop this." "Stop this?" someone shouted from the crowd. "You're the reason this is happening. You want us to trust you, then your company comes to bulldoze our history?" The anger erupted, filling the diner like a charged storm. Charlie's heart raced, each beat echoing his mounting frustration and desperation. Their plans felt like whispers against a tidal wave of bureaucratic power headed straight for the mill. It wasn't just about the festival anymore. This was about holding on to their town, their legacy. "Listen," Victor spoke up, his voice trembling. "If we don't act fast, we'll lose the mill forever. We need a plan, and we need it now." Carter nodded, an unexpected sincerity flickering in his eyes. "I can help you rally support, but understand this. If you want my help, we need to collaborate. I can leverage my connections. We can fight this together." A tense silence lingered, the air thick with doubt, but also a glimmer of hope. Charlie felt torn. Could he trust Carter? Would partnering with him bring the resources they needed, or would it be handing over the keys to their pride? "Charlie, what do we do?" Sarah's voice broke through his reverie, wide eyes filled with concern. He opened his mouth, searching for the right response, but nothing came. The sense of urgency swelled. He had to choose, fast. "What if we consult the townsfolk?" Tom chimed in, his brows furrowing in thought. "Bring everyone together, maybe hold a meeting, let them decide how to move forward?" "Yes," Victor exclaimed, catching on. "We could organize a protest, gather letters, show them the community backing that old mill." Charlie nodded, his heart pounding with the thrill of action. "Okay, let's do it. We need to rally everyone. This is our moment." But even as the crowd buzzed with renewed spirit, Charlie felt an undercurrent of dread. What if they couldn't mobilize enough support? What if Carter really was just playing them? As Charlie opened his mouth to address the crowd, Carter stepped forward, his expression shifting back to business. "I'll make some calls," he said, "but I'll need your help. Trust me, and the moment you need me, I'll be there." The uncertainty of the night weighed heavily on Charlie, but the end of the day came with an undeniable surge of determination. Together, they could make a difference, but at what cost? As they prepared for the fight of their lives, a chilling thought struck. What other secrets had Carter kept hidden? What dark threads were woven into this sudden alliance? The stakes were higher than ever, and every breath in that diner felt like stepping onto a tightrope. Would they triumph, or would the weight of mistrust drag them all down? Tomorrow would be a test of loyalty and courage. Charlie knew all too well that the path ahead was fraught with danger. He took a deep breath before turning to face the crowd. "Let's rally our community. Let's not just defend the mill. Let's reclaim what's ours." Fear and determination blended in his chest as he raised his voice, uncertainty lingering like the last remnants of daylight. Would they rise together or fall apart? The answer felt like a shadow stretching long over Maplewood, waiting to be revealed. The morning sun peeked over Maplewood, bathing the town in golden light. Charlie stirred awake, heart racing. Today was the day. The weight of the mill's fate pressed down on him like an anchor. As he ambled to the kitchen, the coffee aroma filled the air, but it couldn't dissolve his knots of anxiety. "Charlie," his sister Sarah called out, glancing up from her notebook covered in sketches for the protest signs. "Are you ready for this? Everyone's counting on you." He offered a weak smile. "Ready as I'll ever be." They shared a moment of silence, the gravity of their mission sinking in. Charlie took a deep breath, willing his nerves to settle. He opened the front door to see Victor already at the end of the street, pacing. The rest of the community began to emerge from their homes, expressions ranging from steely determination to nervous apprehension. "All right, everybody," Charlie shouted, gathering their attention. "Today, we stand together. The mill means more than just a building. It's our history, our memories." People started nodding, fists clutching homemade banners. There was an undeniable bond forming between the townsfolk. They were more than just neighbors. They were a family united for a common cause. As they marched toward the town square, Charlie spotted Carter leaning against a gleaming black car, looking somewhat out of place amidst the throng of locals. The way he stood there, half smug, half concerned, made Charlie's stomach churn. Could he really trust Carter? "Remember," Carter said, approaching as they gathered, "your passion can be your greatest weapon. Show them how much the mill means to you." "Don't think you can charm us into submission," a woman shouted, her voice dripping with skepticism. Carter stepped back, hands raised as if to fend off the anger aimed at him. "I'm just trying to help." Victor shouted, "No more distractions. We've got work to do. Everyone, let's get organized." Charlie felt the energy shift. A sense of urgency pulsed in the air as laughter and chatter erupted among neighbors who shared stories, hopes, and a common fear. For a moment, he allowed himself to feel buoyed by the excitement. That is, until a cold reminder of their impending loss settled in. As they gathered in the square, the crowd thickened, voices and concerns intertwining. "We need to set a timeline," Charlie suggested. "Let's not just wait for the Hartley group to finish their plans." Victor nodded. "How about we schedule a community meeting soon? Let everyone voice their thoughts and offer solutions. We need to make this a rallying cry." "We should bring in experts too," someone yelled. "We need lawyers who can fight against this." Charlie felt the flood of new ideas swell around him. Fire sparked in his veins. Each plan, each voice added fuel to the fire they were igniting. Yet doubt lingered at the edges of his heart. Could it be enough? Would it sway the powers at play? Just then, a couple of local high school kids stepped forward, bolstered by their boldness. "We'll make videos, spread the word on social media," they exclaimed. "Yes," came a shout from someone in the back. Let the outside world know that Maplewood won't roll over. Charlie's pulse quickened. It wasn't just last night's worries about Carter or the mill anymore. This was about empowerment and reclaiming their narrative. They were bigger than any corporation. But the fear of failure still echoed within him. As the energy pulsated, Charlie took a step back to survey the crowd. This was more than a protest now. It was a movement. Together, they were pulling at the threads of their shared history. Okay, let's make a plan. Let's do this. Charlie raised his arms, heart racing with a blend of hope and terror. With the crowd roaring approval, he felt the tide turning in favor of their cause. He looked around, adrenaline flooding through him. What if they actually succeeded? But beneath the buzz, anxiety trickled in. What was Carter's true intention? Would he stand by them if things turned dark? The questions lingered like heavy fog, gripping his chest tighter with every passing moment. Yet Charlie pushed forward, voice strong. Maplewood stands united. They may think they can silence us, but together we will be heard. With the energy in the square electrifying, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of their battle. As he channeled their collective strength, a chilling thought pierced his mind. How far would Carter go to protect his interests, and at what cost to their home? The fight for their community was heating up, but shadows loomed on the horizon, waiting to erupt. Charlie stood at the front, watching the powerful wave of energy wash over the crowd, but the tension in his gut clung stubbornly. Each chant was like a lightning bolt, igniting hope, but a storm brewed just out of sight. His eyes swept over the sea of determined faces, some aged and weathered, others bright with youthful expectation. They were all there for the same reason. "Louder!" Victor shouted, raising his own banner high. "Maplewood forever!" The cheers erupted again, a chorus of defiance that vibrated in his bones. Charlie believed in them. He had to. Together they were a force. But as he caught sight of Carter leaning against that polished car, the nagging doubt flared again. What secrets did he hold? Was his presence a reassurance or a threat? "Let's get moving," he called, rallying the troops. They marched through the streets, their signs fluttering in the light breeze, each step grounding them deeper into their cause. Don't forget, this isn't about us alone. Think of the generations before us who walked through these same streets. The crowd surged, voices rising in unison as they reached the steps of Town Hall. Charlie climbed up to the podium, heart thundering. This was the moment he had dreamed of, the chance to confront the people responsible for uprooting their lives. "Now we fight for a future," he declared, gripping the sides of the wooden podium. "For our families, our friends, and the future we want to build right here in Maplewood." The cheers from the crowd swelled. It felt electric, as if they could light up the entire town. But just then, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. It was Carter, stepping forward. "Listen, I can help." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Confusion, skepticism, anger. "Get back!" someone yelled from the crowd. Carter raised his hands again, but Charlie could see the flicker of defiance in his eyes. "I know the systems you're up against. I can get you inside information about the Hartley Group. Use it to your advantage." "Why would we trust you?" Charlie spat, his voice layered with frustration. The last thing he needed was more manipulation. "Because I can turn the tide for you. We can work together," Carter insisted, his tone now urgent. "No!" A familiar voice rang out from the back, Sarah, her brows furrowed in determination. "You're just playing games, aren't you?" The crowd swelled with echoes of uncertainty, and Charlie felt the ground shift beneath him. What if Carter was right? They needed every possible edge, but was aligning with him worth the risk? The doubt spiraled, becoming impossibly tangled. "Enough!" Charlie shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. "You all know what's at stake. I promise I won't make any decisions without you."
He hoped they would hear the sincerity in his plea. "Let's take a vote. Are we willing to hear him out?" The crowd murmured, glancing between Carter and Charlie. After a moment that felt eternal, fists began to raise, hesitant yet hopeful. "Let's give him a chance," someone finally shouted, and a wave of agreement rippled through the voices. As they settled momentarily to hear Carter's plan, Charlie took a deep breath, feeling weighed down by the choices ahead. Did he want to risk losing control, or was saving the mill paramount? As Carter began to speak, Charlie's heart raced, but soon an unsettling unease began creeping back. What if this was simply a trap? Was he going to let the very influence they rallied against slither back into their lives? Deep down, a fear clawed at him. What if this was just a beginning, one that led to chaos? As the crowd leaned in, wanting answers, Charlie stole a glance at the horizon. Was that a dark cloud heading their way, or just his own bubbling doubts rising to meet the light? At that moment, the stakes felt higher than ever, but Charlie was determined. The next steps could change everything for Maplewood, but would they choose the right path? With uncertainty knitting tight in his stomach, he listened, preparing for what might come next. Carter stepped forward, his voice a carefully measured whisper at first, drawing the crowd in. "I've been on the inside of the Hartley Coop. I know their weaknesses, their schedules. We can turn this around, but you all have to trust me." Charlie could feel the crowd shift, a collective breath held in suspense. Some looked skeptical, others desperate for reassurance. He clenched his fists, glancing over at Sarah, whose eyes burned with concern. Carter had already woven doubt among them, and the unease rippled like a cold wind through the crowd. "Why now?" Sarah shot back, her tone sharp like glass. "You had your chance before. Why help us now?" Carter, unfazed, continued. "They're ready to push their plans through. I'm not here to deceive you. I'm here because I want Maplewood to survive, just like you do." "Don't let him play you for fools," someone shouted. The sentiment echoed through the group, reigniting their fiery spirit. They had fought too hard to let a wolf back into their midst. Charlie raised a hand, trying to quell the brewing storm. "We need to hear him out," he insisted, desperation seeping into his voice. He sensed the fragile balance tipping against them. They were united, yet so easily swayed by fear. "Think about it. If he knows their plans, if he can guide us, it could be our best shot. Or it could lead us straight into a trap," Sarah retorted, shaking her head. "Can't you see? He's just another face of the system we're fighting against." The crowd erupted into heated discussion, each voice contributing to the mounting chaos. Charlie's heart raced. The weight of leadership bore down on him. Decisions needed to be made, but now every choice seemed laced with betrayal. "Enough," Charlie's voice boomed, pushing through the noise. "We came here to stand up for ourselves, for Maplewood. We can't let our fear cloud our judgment." His gaze swept over the anxious faces. "Let's take a step back. Let's think of the mill, our town. What is more important, short-term safety or the long-term future we're fighting for?" Some nodded, contemplating his words, and slowly the arguing eased. The crowd quieted, faces turning to Charlie, unsure. "Carter," Charlie began again, locking eyes with the man. "If we agree to hear you out, you need to be completely transparent. What do you want from us? What's your end game?" Carter's brow furrowed, the weight of their skepticism bearing down. "Just your trust. I want to help you make the right moves, and together we can disrupt Hartley before it's too late." "Then let's hear what you've got. But know this," Charlie said, his voice firm and resolute. "If you turn on us, I won't hesitate to expose you. We won't play your games." Carter nodded slowly, absorbing the tension. "Okay, I understand." As he began to lay out a plan, Charlie shifted his focus. There was something he couldn't shake, a feeling that they were dancing on the edge of something monumental. Each word from Carter felt like a thread, pulling tighter,
crafting a tapestry of hope and fear. Glimmers of strategy took shape, charts and timelines painted by Carter in vivid detail. Together, they could counter the Hartley Group, navigate its corporate labyrinth. As the air crackled with possibility, Charlie couldn't fully grasp whether joy or dread filled his chest. But then it struck him. Was revealing the hidden truths of the mill enough? What would they need to sacrifice to save it? As the plan spun out, the weight of choices layered like shadows around him. Charlie's mind raced, caught between the desire for action and the fear of deceit. Did they really have a shot, or was this yet another betrayal wrapped in promises? Then the crowd gasped as a distant rumble echoed, a sound not of thunder but of engines. The clock was ticking. The Hartley Group wouldn't wait. Hope and despair entwined in Charlie's gut. And just then, a figure emerged from the side, glaring with intensity, as if they held the very key to unraveling everything. Who were they? What did they know? Charlie felt the ground shift, not just under his feet, but in the very foundations of their fight. In a moment that could turn the tide, he realized they were standing at the precipice, not just of battle, but of truth. Would they be ready, or would they fall into chaos once more? The sun blazed down on Maplewood as the community gathered beneath the towering facade of the town hall, its brick walls echoing the fervor of a town on the brink of change. Charlie adjusted his cap and took a deep breath, feeling the weight of expectation and purpose settle across his shoulders. "Today is the day," he murmured to Sarah, who stood resolute at his side, a determined fire igniting her eyes. The town buzzed with voices, a living tapestry of shared fears and unyielding hope, stretching out like an open hand in defiance of the forces threatening to close in. "Remember, we fight for what's ours," he rallied, raising his arms to quiet the chatter. "For our families, our history, and our future. The mill isn't just wood and stone, it's our legacy." The crowd erupted in cheers that echoed down the streets, a cathartic release cycling through each person. Charlie's heart swelled. These were the faces of Maplewood, the children, the teachers, the workers, each one claiming their place in the fight for their home. "Let's show them we refuse to be silenced," Charlie urged, energizing the crowd. "Let's stand together and reclaim what's ours." Just then, Victor stepped forward, laying out plans on a handmade poster board, a map of their strategy forming. His voice resonated with conviction as he outlined objectives, timelines, and addresses, a stark contrast to the ominous silence that had enveloped them just days before. But then, in the periphery, Charlie caught sight of Carter. The outsider leaned against the building, arms crossed, the sun casting a long shadow behind him. His expression was a complicated mix of calm confidence and thoughtful calculation. Charlie clenched his jaw. Could he afford to trust this man? Yet a flicker of determination surged in him. It was time to choose. "Everyone," he called out, turning the crowd's attention to Carter. "This is Carter. He's shown us information that could help. All we need to do is stay vigilant and ensure we don't lose sight of who we are." The crowd buzzed with uncertainty, but Carter raised his hands in a gesture of peace. "I want to help," he repeated, his tone ringing with sincerity. "We're allied in this fight. If we're going to stop this from happening, we have to play their game, but on our terms." Charlie watched the tension ease slightly as murmurs of collaboration washed through the crowd. Carter moved closer, showcasing blueprints that laid out proposed community efforts. "Here's what we'll do," he began. "We'll leverage social media campaigns and community outreach to rally more support and draw attention to the mill. I have contacts who can assist with media coverage." "We want real results," Tom yelled from the back, arms crossed defiantly. "No more fluff." "Agreed," Carter nodded, matching Tom's intensity. "Real results require real action. I can make the right calls, but only with your trust. I can't do this for you. I can only help you find your voice." The crowd leaned in, heads bobbing as anticipation thrummed in the air. Charlie took a breath,
sensing the lingered doubt but also the flickering chance of unification. "What do you say, everyone? Is it worth it?" he asked, feeling the shift in energy. Amid scattered nods, someone shouted, "We've always pulled together. Let's do this." "Right," Charlie said, adrenaline surging. "Then let's spread the word like wildfire. This is what Maplewood stands for, a community that never backs down." A beat of silence held, and then electric energy rippled through the crowd, voices rising in shared resolve. Together, they could mobilize. Charlie felt it. Something powerful was shifting, something bigger than the upheaval they had braced themselves against. As they began to disperse to enact their plans, Charlie summoned Victor and Sarah, pulling them aside. "We need to keep open communication. If things go sideways, if we see red flags, we act fast." "Agreed," Victor replied, determination clear in his eyes. "Everything is riding on this," Sarah said, her voice firm. "We can't waver, not now." As discussions erupted around him, Charlie took a moment to survey the scene, a patchwork of hope unfurling on the streets, a dance of courage against an uncertain backdrop. But then, in the blink of an eye, the atmosphere shifted. The sound of engines grew, first faint, then louder. A convoy rolling into town, black cars gleaming ominously under the afternoon sun. The Hartley group had arrived. Fear sunk its claws deep. Charlie's heart pounded angrily. He shot one last look at his allies, their faces already reflecting the shared anxiety. This was it. The moment they had prepared for had come crashing in like a tidal wave. "Stay together," Charlie shouted, voice etched with urgency. "We can't let them divide us." As the cars parked in the lot and figures began to emerge, Charlie steeled himself. This was a contest of wills, and Maplewood would refuse to back down. "You will not erase our history," he shouted into the crowd, amplifying the unity he felt bubbling within. "We are Maplewood, and we will fight." The roars of defiance swelled around him, and he knew in that instant that they were ready. They would protect their legacy or fall together. There was no other choice. And as Carter stood at the forefront, grappling with his own social allegiances, part of Charlie couldn't help but wonder, could he stand with them? Or were they already playing into the hands of someone who might lead them to their downfall? Amidst the gathering storm, this collapse of tension and anticipation meant one thing. Today would be a turning point. For better or worse, everything was about to change. "Let's get loud," he roared, stepping forward to face the approaching shadows. "For Maplewood!" The crowd echoed the chant, voices ascending. Whatever happened next, it would be more than just a fight against the Hartley group. It would be a battle for their very identities, and Charlie had never felt so alive, so determined. Together, they advanced to meet whatever challenges lay ahead with courageous hearts and fierce unity. For they understood now that together they were unbreakable, and their future was theirs to define. Amidst the echoing chorus, Charlie whispered under his breath, "This is just the beginning." And standing shoulder to shoulder with his community, he felt the stunning realization take root. Together, they would face whatever storm came their way. So, in this moment, together they surged into the fray, unyielding and unafraid. And that spirit, that was their true power. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to this channel so you don't miss the next incredible stories. Trust me, you need to be part of this journey. Leave a like now if you felt the power of this ending. It fuels the algorithm and keeps us going. Comment below your reactions and thoughts about this journey. It matters to us to hear from you. And please share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second to share. The world deserves to know that when we stand together, nothing can break us.
Only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel, so let's rise together.